Let's talk about Daniel Iversen. Now, Derby County are in the market for a number one or number two goalkeeper this summer. After losing Joe Wildsmith and Scott Loach, they are without two senior goalkeepers in the first team. Now, Dan Iversen is someone I've pinpointed from Leicester City who could potentially move to Derby County on a potential loan deal, maybe even a permanent transfer to take over that mantle from Joe Wildsmith, maybe even be our number two goalkeeper. So shall we get a look into Daniel Iversen and his career so far? So if you don't know who Daniel Iversen is, this is Daniel Iversen. This is what he looks like. He's played at a range of different clubs throughout the EFL. He's spent time at Preston, at Leicester, and at Stoke City most recently. And he is just 26 years of age, born in 1997. His contract does expire in 2025. There is a Paul Warne crossover with Daniel Iversen from his time at Rotherham. Now, if we do take a look into the 6 clubs that he has played for, he has played for Leicester City, Oldham Athletic, Rotherham United, Stoke City, Preston North End, and OH Leuven. Now, he's made 231 appearances, consisting of 20,717 minutes. He's kept 74 clean sheets and 284 goals have been conceded. And he has only picked up 5 yellow cards and no red cards during his time in senior and youth football. Now, if we do take a look at his numbers by club, he's obviously spent the longest time. If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below or in this top corner to stay tuned for all your latest Derby County, EFL and Euro 2024 Championship news. Let me know your thoughts on the potential signing of Dan Iversen. Now, I know he hasn't necessarily been linked to the club. There's been a lot of talk with his name involved, so I'm really interested to see what you guys think. If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that like button as well. Help push the channel to new viewers. Really helps out the channel getting likes and comments, so make sure you let me know your thoughts. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next part of this video. At Preston, where he made 71 appearances, conceding 83 goals, picking up 23 clean sheets. He then spent 49 games at Oldham with 65 conceded, 16 clean sheets. His crossover with Paul Warne was at Rotherham, where he made 38 appearances, conceding 44 goals and saving 10 clean sheets. Now, he's obviously spent time with Leicester's academy. He made 32 appearances for their under-21s, 33 goals conceded, 12 clean sheets. And then he most recently spent time at Stoke City on loan, where he made 19 appearances, 26 goals conceded, and 7 clean sheets. Now, he obviously has spent time at Leicester. He played with their academy. He's played in their first team. 17 appearances for the first team, 24 goals conceded, 5 clean sheets. And at OH Leuven, he's made 5 appearances, 6 goals conceded, and 1 clean sheet. Now, as you can see, he's travelled around a bit, and the key point in this conversation for me is the fact that he is currently contracted to Leicester until 2025. Now, for me, I think that is a massive deal because that's only down the road. He probably wouldn't have to move house if he was to sign for Derby County. Now, as I have mentioned, Dan Iversen is a goalkeeper who's made 230 appearances in that position. Now, at minimum, he would be brilliant competition for Josh Vickers. And Josh Vickers is a goalkeeper who I don't quite think has instilled confidence in me yet. Obviously, didn't get a massive amount of game time last season. But for me, I think it wasn't necessarily the most clear-cut of goalkeepers, in my opinion. I think Dan Iversen could potentially be that. Now, if we do look at, obviously, the depth chart, we still have no idea on decisions from Louis Sibley and James Collins as I'm recording this on the 5th of June. And we do only have one goalkeeper. Now, I think that is a massive problem heading into this summer window. We obviously, in my opinion, need 2 keepers. I don't want to see Jack Thompson wasted as a third man. I don't want to see Harry Evans wasted as a third man, as a keeper with the first team. As much as I think they get the benefit from training with the first team, I don't think sitting in a stadium watching a game is actually beneficial in the long run. So for me, I think having Vickers and Iversen battling it out for those that one goalkeeper position, number 1, number 2, I think would be massively interesting to see. Obviously, you do have the potential for other goalkeepers to come in. There seems to be a lot out of contract this summer, or a lot available to go and purchase, or available to bring in on loan. Obviously, you've got, I think his name's Okonkwo from Arsenal, who's been at Wrexham. I think he would be a fairly decent keeper to bring in, still fairly young in keeper years. So he could sort of carry along the torch as first team goalkeeper for a long, long time. So now, what type of deal would be available if we was to look at bringing in Dan Iversen? Now, there's 2 potential options. He hasn't played a game for Leicester City since 22-23, which was not last season just finished, the season before. So I think it would potentially be a really low transfer fee, especially with his contract ending in 2025. I think Leicester will probably be looking to cash in unless they decide that they want to keep him. Now, there is also an option for a season-long loan deal where Leicester City could keep their hand in, potentially keep him if they do end up getting relegated back to the Championship. So that is a conversation topic. Now, can Paul Warne convince him to join Derby County? Now, they did spend time together at Rotherham, as previously mentioned, where he made 38 appearances. Now, I think there is a possibility that Paul Warne could make that happen. Now, we saw with Connor Washington and with Josh Vickers and the likes of Joe Ward and these types of players that Paul Warne was able to convince them to join Derby County, despite the fact they were potentially in better sides at the point of signing for Derby. Now, would I like to see Dan Iversen at Derby County? I think it's definitely a really good possibility. I think he could really make competitiveness for that goalkeeper position. I think we've had a lot over the past 2 seasons about talking about competition, but I don't really think Josh Vickers really was ever in the conversation for number 1. I know we had that spell in the team during sort of like January, February, and then he got injured and that sort of wrote him off for arguably the rest of the season. I know he was on the bench for the back end of the games, but Joe Wildsmith hit some amazing form, and I do think losing Wildsmith is going to be a massive, massive issue for us, because there's not that many goalkeepers that are sort of experienced and you can trust from the bat. And I think we had that with Joe Wildsmith. I think the fan base trusted him, the players trusted him. I would love to know why he decided not to renew his contract. I'd love to know why the contract talks didn't sort of proceed. It's really going to be interesting to see where he ends up. Obviously, I'm recording this on June 5th, so we've not heard anything yet. I believe he's just got married, so it's going to be really interesting to see how teams do play their cards, especially when it comes to goalkeepers. Obviously, Fulham have just announced that Rodak will be leaving the club on a free transfer, which opens up the door for competition at any club, in my opinion. I think Rodak's a brilliant goalkeeper, so it will be interesting to see what Dan Iversen ends up doing. Will he be at Derby? Will he stay at Leicester? Will he go to Stoke, where he was on loan? That's a big couple of questions, in my opinion. It is a massive decision who you bring in as your second choice, first choice goalkeeper, and you have to be able to trust that they can play your style of football. Now, the big problem Derby County have had in recent years with goalkeepers is that there's a lot of goalkeepers that we'd have that would either be, they'd be really good at aerial battles, essentially, but be awful with the ball at their feet. Or we'd have a goalkeeper that's really good with the ball at the feet, but not very good at commanding his box. And it's those sort of things which I think Paul Warne especially, and Andy Warrington, the goalkeeper coach, especially need to talk to Mark Thomas about and make sure that those decisions are being made. I'm sure they are conversations that are being had behind the scenes, and I know there's a lot of rumours going around at the moment, and Dan Iversen's not necessarily a transfer rumour, but his name has been bandied about by multiple people over the past few months. He's a player who I could see joining Derby County for the 24-25 campaign in the Championship. It will be very interesting to see how Paul Warne does deal with the goalkeeper situation, because I do think it's going to be really interesting to see what he does do, because I do think we need sort of like a Scott Carson type as a third choice keeper who is able to help develop the young lads in the likes of Jack Thompson, Harry Evans, is it Harley Price, I think is an 18s goalkeeper as well. So like there's all these conversations and things that need to be spoke about, but you obviously want that third choice goalkeeper to be competent if he has to go between the sticks. And you also don't want your second choice keeper to sort of be, oh, I'm happy to be a number 2. You want a number 2 who's going to push your number 1 all the way. And I think at times we haven't really had that. And I think the best time we can probably go back to that is probably Keller Roos and Scott Carson. I think at the time, I think Roos was fairly decent up until the playoff final. I know he made a couple of calamities throughout the season, but I think up until that playoff final, I thought he was fairly decent. And Scott Carson was really good that season as well. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that deal is handled. Now, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Do you think Dan Iversen would be a good signing? And if you have not done so already, make sure you hit that like button to help push the channel to new people, to new viewers, and build this channel up. I'm really trying to keep up to date with all the latest Derby County news and the Euro 2024 situation. So make sure you do hit that subscribe button down below or in the top corner. It will have showed at some point during the video. So if you have not done that already, make sure you smash that red button. Make sure you turn on your notification bell to stay tuned for all the latest Derby County, EFL and the European 2024 Championships, latest news and reviews. And now I'm going to let you go. I could speak all day about Derby County, but I'm not going to. So I'll catch you in the next video. Make sure to go and find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula 1 and football weekend.